Okay, I'm ready.
Ready, Paul?
Hopefully she'll be ready in a minute.
Where is he? What are you doing down there?
I said by the viaduct, not on it. Where's she got to? Oh, seriously?
You said by the viaduct, not on the viaduct.
As is often the case, the history of this railway started with the ambition of a small company and ended up in the hands of one of the railway giants. The Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway is no different. The ambition to connect the industrial north with the south was a clear goal for the railway and be part of its profitable gains. Notable points along the line would include Didcot, Upton, Churn, Compton, Hampstead and Norris, Pinewood Holt, Hermitage, Newbury, Woodhay, Highclere, Burclere, Lichfield, Whitchurch, Barton Stacey Holt, Sutton Scotney, Worthy Down, Kingsworthy and Winchester. In the early railway years, obtaining money to build a railway was a relatively easy task. One would simply come up with a plan, pop it in an envelope, address it to a very important newspaper, pop it in the postbox, and the backers would be knocking at your door. By the time one of these proposals had come back into consideration for the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway, money wasn't quite so easy to come by. Therefore, any significant proposal for the line had to be a good one. It was sold on two different bases. Number one, the route from north to south. Number two, opening up markets and trade routes for local villages and communities. This is important because, as you'll note, rural Hampshire and Berkshire in the 1870s wasn't exactly downtown Shanghai. Hello? What are we going to find in this area? Within the area, you'd find sheep farming, dairy farming, such as cows, crops, in particular barley, and stables. Despite there being claims that the East Ilsley sheep market attracted up to £1 million a year, this wasn't enough to authorise the route. The ultimate attraction was the north to south link. In steps the Earl of Carnarvon.
Is that the father of George Edward Stanhope Molyneux, the 5th Earl of Carnarvon?
He was the one that financially backed the excavation of Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings, ultimately succumbing to a mosquito bite from a razor blade which led to blood poisoning and then turned into pneumonia. Everyone put it down to the curse of Tutankhamun. He and a number of other prominent names picked up the reins. The board members now included Lord Carnarvon, Sir Robert, I can't remember. Give us the board members now included Lord Carnarvon, Sir Robert Lloyd Lindsay VC, John Walters, proprietor of the Times, W.G. Malt MP, Sir Julius Vogel, later PM of New Zealand. Okay. Despite the significant sums of money poured into the line by these members, very little was known about the actual building of a railway. Subsequently, they became very reliant on the contractors chosen. The contractors were... hang on. The contractors chosen were Fowler, Falconer and Trancred. They built the Forth Bridge. Costs, even at this early planning stage, were likely to be high. Number 1, compensation to landowners, and number 2, GWR specifications. Because of their tight specifications on gradients, there was a need for many bridges, embankments and cuttings. Despite this, the team saw that their line had significant geographical advantage over any other competition. In 1879, work began on the northern section of the line, that was Newbury to Didcot. At this stage, there was already a lack of funds, not originally envisaged by the VIPs. Thus was often the case, some of the contractors were actually paid in shares. Despite the northern section being completed in March 1882, there was no sign at this stage of the much quoted and discussed East Ilsley branch line. An 8-hour inspection of the line took place. Every bridge, every cutting, every embankment was measured. Ultimately it was deemed satisfactory. The grand opening was set for the 12th of April 1882. And it was indeed a grand opening. Stations were lined with people, placards were held along the line, horses ran alongside the carriages at Upton. The line was complete on the northern section. Okay, so here's where things get a tad confusing, so pay attention. The Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway had planned to link the London South Western Railway main line south at Micheldever. However, at this point there was no agreement with London South Western Railway. So, it was proposed to the London South Western Railway that the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway be extended to Winchester via a branch line on the north east section of the Sprat and Winkle line. GWR were not happy with this. This was well into LSWR territory. LSWR were also significantly opposed. The townsfolk of Southampton, however, were getting rather excited and offered land and cash to assist the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway. A decision was reached, and in the spring of 1882 plans were put to Parliament. London South Western Railway were opposed to the new plans and the threat which was in them, and they sought a bill to connect Hurstbourne to Gibraltar and a double line the rest of the entire Andover and Redbridge Railway. The London South Western Railway came to their senses, and they finally offered the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway running powers from Micheldever to Winchester and to a joint station at Southampton. The Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway, who had now got quite broad shoulders and big boots, rejected this bizarrely and carried on with their plans, which were approved in August 1882. The line now proposed a loop at Whitchurch, whilst abandoning the Micheldever link. Furthermore, a line from Berkeley to Aldermaston was proposed. LSWR panicked, as this would give GWR a massive advantage in being part of this route north to south. Subsequently, they built the Hurstbourne-Frillerton branch line, which would only be useful if the Whitchurch line got built. But it didn't, which is why that branch line probably closed first. So, whilst all this was taking place, the railway had reached as far south as Lichfield. Massive earthworks were being undertaken, including a 1.5 mile cutting at Whitchurch, up to 58 feet deep in places. At Bell Street, in Whitchurch, Mr. Hayton had insisted that his gold sovereign be laid into the brickwork. The navvies did exactly as requested. But within 2 hours, it had mysteriously disappeared. Work progressed well towards Whitchurch, to the satisfaction of GWR, who would be running the line. Money, however, was becoming an issue. Despite the land being purchased by Southampton, that revenue stream had run dry. It is not 100% sure as to why, however GWR were not helping in any way financially whatsoever, despite the fact they were clearly gained from this. It was suspected that a desire to maintain territorial boundaries was at play.
We're going to build a wall.
Under new leadership, in that of Mr Forbes in 1884, all work was suspended on the Southampton end of the route, potentially a bizarre move with the company's long-term finances at mind. At the same time, GWR and London and South Western Railway had come to an unofficial agreement over boundaries. However, 2 years previous, they had also agreed with the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway to run the line to Southampton. By 1885, the line was complete to Winchester. The tunnel at Southampton was also complete. However, this didn't go without controversy. Navvies would be paid a tunnel bonus if the tunnel was over 440 yards.
439 yards.
As you can imagine, they remeasured at 441 yards. Despite the ultimate agreement that GWR would run trains on the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway, the small print probably should have been checked by the Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway. GWR were only required to run a reasonable number of trains from time to time. They took that to mean local traffic only. It would probably be a fair assumption to say that GWR only ran trains on this line in case somebody else did. They continued to run their freight on other lines. Passengers travelling from Winchester to Didcot were better placed to travel via Reading. Some passengers didn't even know they had a second station in Winchester. Madness! The Didcot, Newbury and Southampton Railway continued to fight for recognition. Freight schemes from France, passenger services from the Isle of Wight, some with moderate success. But ultimately, nothing came close to what the shareholders had initially envisaged. Despite the line being of significant use in both world wars, ultimately it was destined for the hands of Beeching.